Greetings. It's JPC here with my dear wife, Loved, on the Marriage Bed podcast. And we are hosting our friends and the Dakas, Mutende and Joshua. What a joy to have you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And we are glad that we are here, and hope and pray that will be a blessing to everyone who will be watching and listening to the program.
Try to speak up, please.
Okay.
Yes. And then
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you for having us. It's a joy to be here. And we believe
push
and
it up
hope
again.
that is this okay?
Again, take it up a bit.
Okay. How is this? Is this better?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right. So saying that we are glad to be here, and thank you for having us. It's a joy, and we pray and hope that this discussion will be a blessing to those that will be watching and following the program.
Thank you. Take it a little bit up the volume again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start off.
Better.
Better?
Okay. It's so short, so you can put even a big volume because we will not be talking much from our side. So
yeah. All right.
It'll be all right. All right. So it's the Naked Marriage podcast, and today we are dealing with the marriage, the naked marriage, part 2. Nothing to hide, nothing to protect. And that's the focus of today's discussion. And we want to just begin by asking you guys to just a little bit about yourselves, how you met, how long you've been married, and a few experiences that you've had.
Thank you. Would you like to start?
How we met?
Yeah. Okay, so we are the Dakas, Mr. and Mrs. Daka, Joshua and Mutende.
Yeah.
And I think ladies have a better recollection of events and certain details. So I'll allow my wife to just, I think, explain a little bit of about ourselves, where we're coming from, and yeah.
Okay. We met in 2009 in Bible college.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I went to Bible college in my first year, he was in his second year.
Yeah.
And we were friends for a few months, and towards the end of 2009, we began to date. And we dated for about 3 years, 4 months to about 4 years. Yeah, and then we got married in 2013, 5th October.
Yeah.
And this for almost 11 years together. And we've had 4 children together, and we did plant a ministry together, and this far the Lord has brought us.
Yeah, so we've been together 11 years, and it's been an interesting journey so far, a beautiful one. And that's a little bit background about us. And of course, we're from Zambia, Kitwe to be specific. And then now we are in the UK, we are in Southampton, and enjoying this journey of marriage and learning every day.
Okay, 11 years of marriage, about 4 years of dating.
Yeah.
About 15 years together, I think. 15 years of knowing each other. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. How has been the journey?
I don't know. From your side?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. Like I mentioned earlier, I think from my side, and then she's going to say from her side, I think it's been a learning and growing process. From my take, I think sometimes the mistake we make is to get into marriage and think we have arrived. But I think when you get into marriage, that is the beginning of everything. So from my side, I think it has been a journey of learning and growing and becoming better, or becoming a better version of me. So it's been a process of learning and growing from my side, I think. And I believe that should be the philosophy of any person who gets into marriage. They should be open to learning and growth. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I wouldn't say any different.
Yes. Yeah.
It's been the same. I feel like while we prepare more for the marriage ceremony, we should actually prepare more for the married life. And so these 11 years have been more self-discovery while discovering another person, learning, adjusting. Yeah. And basically, I feel like it's just been life. I can't really say it's felt so dramatically different. I think once your mind is prepared, you know what you're getting into, you have thought through, you have made the decisions, your mind sort of adjusts. So you just naturally grow into a process of growth, adjustment, and discovery. And that's what this 11 years have been.
Growth, adjustment, and discover. And that's the process probably that may help us to come to what we are calling the naked marriage. I think Pastor Joshua, in the introduction of this broadcast, you mentioned the fact that all these other things we talk about, communication, love, trust, a number of things that we discuss, commitment, dedication, loyalty, will not be effective if we are not naked. Would you kindly be able to define what a naked marriage is? And with regard to your own experiences, probably you can also feel free to share the process of your own marriage and whether you can say you've reached that stage of a naked marriage and what it took you to reach there. Is it something that just happens dramatically, or is it a process? Is it something that just happened at the beginning of your marriage? So the definition and also with reference to your own experience. Can go on for for about 5 minutes, I think, just elaborating on this.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember we had a discussion some time back on your platform, on this platform, where I said that I think marriage cannot, everything else is built on the foundation of, what you are calling the naked marriage. How do we define the naked marriage? I think in our understanding and definition, this is openness and transparency, where your partner can look into your life and read you literally, without. So you open up your life to your partner, that they can look into your life and really see you for who you are. And this is important because earlier we were talking about a journey of learning and growing and rediscovery. Marriage is sort of like looking into a mirror. I think a man is never a better version of himself, not until he looks at himself through the eyes of other people. And in this case, their partner, their spouse, your husband or your wife, someone who is genuine in your life, not just any other person. And so when you are open, when you are transparent,
Yeah.
it's like your partner shows you who you really are, and you begin to see yourself for what you are.
Yeah.
You know, and it is at that point that you begin to grow, you begin to adjust, you begin to, so it is foundational because it deals not only with how you are going to relate with the person, but it goes further to deal with you as an individual. Because you see, the biggest challenge, as I allow my wife to come in, to chip in on this one, the biggest challenge with us human beings is not really about the other person. It's about me and what I have inside me, how I deal with it in light of other people. So openness to a marriage, to be naked in a marriage, to be transparent, to be sincere and honest, it really deals with the aspects of you, who you are as an individual. You know, you bring yourself on the open, and you are seen for who you are, and you see yourself for who you are, and that changes all the dynamics.
Yeah.
You want to come in on that one?
Basically, I feel like you've said it all. It's nakedness is basically openness, being you, barely you, and without shame. Like where this whole thing is coming from, when you look at the scripture, the Bible says they were naked and they felt no shame.
Yeah.
They were without any clothes, and it was not awkward to be seen as they were. Literally, that's where this whole topic is coming from. And I feel like every person who gets into marriage needs to understand that they had themselves before they were married. And so you had yourself, you had your space, and somehow in your needs and your belief system or whatever led you, you decide to bring somebody else on. Now, when you decide to bring somebody else on, you have to understand that marriage is beyond just friendship. Marriage is beyond just sexual desire. The Bible says you are one. How can you be one unless you agree? Two cannot move together unless they are in agreement.
Yes.
How can you be in agreement with what you don't know? That just borders everything.
Yeah.
I have to know you for who you are in order for me to be in agreement with who you are. I can't say amen to a prayer I do not understand. So the moment you bring somebody else on board, you have to understand that for you to agree, you have to be on the same page, and therefore open up.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people in marriage, I feel like, have got a mistrust problem, and that's where the nakedness becomes an issue. A lot of people feel like they are being attacked by their spouse. And so as couples, in most cases, we feel like we should be in a defense mode.
Yeah.
The question is, are you with an enemy or are you with a part of yourself? If you are with a part of yourself, natural logic should say, have some trust. Be vulnerable. It is to yourself. So if I'm with my spouse and he sees something in me that he needs to talk about, whether it is wrong or to appreciate, I need to feel the comfort that my shame is his shame and his shame is my shame. His glory I will partake in as much as he will partake in mine. The moment we get to that understanding that we need to be in agreement, and what I enjoy, he enjoys, the shame that comes to him comes to me, it becomes easier to be open. It is better I'm rebuked or corrected or appreciated in the bedroom than I go and hear it outside. That becomes a premise of understanding of why we should be naked. But primarily, I feel like a lot of us couples feel like I need my space, I need my time to myself. The biggest question is, why do you still want time to yourself? You had all the time and you decided to bring somebody
Someone
else
in your
on
life.
board.
And I think to add on that, I tend to push this issue of openness in marriage a little bit in an extreme, if you may call it that way. I think that for those of us that are married, God uses marriage also as a tool of discipleship making, of transformation, in the sense that when a marriage is open, when there's transparency, when there is openness in a marriage, what openness does is, if I'm open to you, it is at that point that now I'm pushed to change the wrong, and sometimes that's why we don't want to be open, because when it is a secret, I feel comfortable with it, so I don't feel the pressure to work on it. Okay, but when you know it, okay, I have no option now, because
it brings in accountability.
So I'm pushed to begin to work on it. That's why openness today, I think I would want to stress this point, that openness really brings the opportunity for me to work on me. When I'm open to you, it gives me the opportunity to push me to a place of accountability and begin to work on me. When I'm closed, I'm killing myself, because the things that I'm supposed to work on, the things that I'm supposed to improve, they are prolonging. Now, talking about our marriage, I think that's the principle that we worked on from the beginning.
Yes.
From the beginning, by the grace of God, it's not easy. So I don't want those that feel like they have to start working on openness now. I don't want them to feel like it's too late. Maybe no, it's something that you can still work on. But
it's basically a cautious decision you make.
Yes, and I'm not trying to make it look like we are special, we are super something. No, but it was the grace of God. By the grace of God, from the time we started dating, it's a principle that we have worked on, and I think that's what has worked for us this far. It's something that we said, okay, from the beginning, we are going to be open and transparent.
Talk about our past. A lot of couples don't believe in talking about their past because
they're
afraid of the devils that will rise from there.
Yes.
But I think from the start, we decided to talk about where we're coming from. So you are coming here, what baggage do you have? What do I need to know? Because we didn't want the surprises of, we are in town and we meet somebody who acts funny, and then afterwards we have to deal with the battle of who was that? What was that? What don't I know? Because the moment those questions come up, it begins to bring questions of what else don't I know? What else didn't you say? So while we had the influence that everybody has, don't talk about your exes, don't talk about where you're coming from, don't talk about what you did.
But we had to overcome that.
We had to overcome. We wanted to be the kind of a couple that don't bring drama. He already knows, or I already know.
You overcame that quite early in your relationship. I think Tende, you did make reference to we come with something by the time we are bringing this person in our lives, and that person also comes with something. So it's not just about the what I call the residue, the dirty, or the stuff, the baggage that we have come with when we were single or from our childhood. But it is also for a lot of marriages, it's about the baggage and the residue and the number of things that they have built while they are still in marriage. But in your case, it looks like you had to deal with certain things quite early in marriage. So what advice can you give to those people that you may talk about from your experience of talking openly about your past, just when you're courting, but then there are those that may not have talked so openly about their past when they are courting, and they didn't develop nakedness while they are at the beginning of their marriage, but instead they went in marriage and they still continue to have a lot of things to hide. So how do you reach that breakthrough where you can become literally naked?
Okay, I'll start because you give me permission. So I feel like even though we did deal with our openness from the start, because life is progressive and life is a continuous process and marriage is ongoing and life is going to keep happening, and it's been happening even for us, I feel like the decision has to be made cautiously. when you realize that we are not being open enough with each other, when you realize that there's no vulnerability in this marriage, you have to make a cautious decision. You need to have a conversation about it. I feel like a lot of couples have a lot of conversations that are non-issue conversations, and they run away from the real conversations. When people say marriage is hard, it feels like, oh, are they fighting? But no, I feel like marriage is hard sometimes because you have to talk about the things you want to run away from. Like if you realize there's a problem with openness, the realization does not come at the same time on both ends. So I may probably realize and my husband doesn't realize because maybe there's something building up in my life. Like for instance, I'll give a practical example because we are being open here, we're trying to help another marriage. There are times when men have been after me while I'm married. Sometimes you have somebody who has been like, you are friends, maybe even as a couple, but then they start developing ideas. And sometimes you don't want to hurt your partner by saying, well, your friend is behaving funny. You know, so you keep it and you're just trying to silence it and behave like it's not there. But you see, everything you don't talk about, you give it ground to grow. And there are times when it has nothing to do with external men or women trying to pursue him or pursue me, and you're trying to just keep it quiet. Sometimes it has to do with personal habits. Anybody can grow a habit that is unhealthy in a marriage. There are others who grow habits to do with maybe pornography. Some of us grow maybe mistrust. All of a sudden, maybe you have a parent that is putting you under pressure, or so you are sending help that you're not declaring, or you have a sibling that is doing something shameful and you're afraid that if you talk about it, my husband will think low of my family. And I feel like this is where a lot of couples fail. A lot of couples are not failing to talk about who's after them and what. A lot of couples are failing to talk about things like their family. So everybody says, don't expose your parents and your siblings to your partner because you won't have where to run to. They will think low of your family. You have to protect your family. Well, you're protecting them from somebody who has become part of the family. You are creating a bigger problem. So there are times when we've had to talk about our own personal family challenges. And sometimes it hasn't been easy to just come and say, babe, well, this person, there's this, because it's shameful. And I'm afraid that he's going to think, oh, your family is super dramatic, man, you know? So I feel like for any couple, any time is right. The moment you realize I'm not being open enough, maybe I'm hiding resources, maybe I am hiding my family issues, maybe I am hiding a bad habit I'm developing, maybe I am hiding somebody that is after me. Sometimes it is not somebody that is after you, it is you developing a weakness for other people outside the marriage. So I feel like my advice would be the moment you realize there's something you're hiding is the time to break the silence.
I think it's being honest about it, and the emphasis is, look, it will not happen overnight. This is something that has been going on for some time. So patience is key. You really both have to be very patient with each other. Number one, the time of acceptance and realization that this is wrong, we need to work on this, will be different. Okay, so the one who has realized has to be patient. And when you begin to talk about it, don't talk about it like you want it to be exhaustive today.
No.
It has to be a process, okay? So it has to be a cautious decision. And being Christians, the first thing you need to do is pray about it. When you realize, you who has realized that there is something wrong, there is no openness in this marriage, pray about it. Then approach your partner. And don't approach your partner in, this is the other thing. Look for the right time, a conducive environment, a conducive time that you can bring this up, because it is a sensitive matter. The number one thing they'll think about is probably you have discovered the secret now, that's what you want to bring up. Okay, and so they'll act all defensive. So create a right environment where you've talked about it. And in our case, it's not like it has all been throughout, we've been good at this. Okay, there are times that maybe things have happened, influences, the environment we grow in, the people we are found with, the influences of society and things like that. There has been times that you find that you lapse actually in being open. Okay, this is what you need to understand. Even the most open of marriages, there can be lapses. Okay?
Because of the fear of shame.
Because of the fear of shame and because of thinking on behalf of, like she said, no, when I say this, maybe he's going to react like this, or maybe he's going to think like this. So so there can be lapses, and remember, we are humans. We talked about picking up bad habits as you go, so there can be lapses along the way, but you quickly have to get back. I think we were talking with you. I was talking with you, JPC. I talked about how that we defined our own terms of marriage, but along the way, I think we made a challenge of the pressure of society trying to conform. You know, you can't always be with your wife. Your wife can't be your best friend. You don't tell your wife everything. Me, myself, personally, I began to fall in that pit. So at some point in the journey, there was a lapse in openness. Okay, where I didn't want my wife to be involved in everything, to know everything. You know where we are coming from, that almost everywhere I used to go with my wife, there was a point that I would avoid her. I think we've talked about that. Even today we are talking about, I would avoid her following me certain places. You see, but it was that oneness, that openness, that togetherness, that best friendness that made our marriage work. So along the way, there can be lapses, but you have to quickly realize them and talk about them. So the issue is coming to terms. Now, the key is on talking about them. Don't push that your partner should see it from your perspective now and then, today. It can take a process for them. You have to be patient. Do it prayerfully as a Christian. Do it patiently. Do it with hope that at least one day they are going to see it from my perspective.
I also feel that for this to happen, this conversation to happen, every married couple, each individual in that couple has to make a cautious decision to be a welcoming space for the spouse.
Yeah.
If you build the image that you are perfect and you're better than your spouse, because there's always the temptation to feel like, you know, you brought this.
Yes.
You started this. I told you. Didn't I say? And that is more common on us women, but it's also common these days in men to say, well, you know, you women, generalizing everything. Once any one of you in that marriage starts that habit or grows that kind of a conversation, you block your partner, because then it's like you're making yourself vulnerable to an opponent.
Yeah.
You know, so there has to be a welcoming environment. There has to be the space that if your friend is going to break down and cry, you are open space. You are not going to take this drama out of here and take it everywhere.
So the holier than thou attitude in a
Has to
spouse
break.
must be dealt with. Your spouse shouldn't be feeling like
They are
they are
before a
approaching
judge.
a high and mighty, you know, in terms. You have to get to a point where you make your spouse feel, look, I'm also as weak as you are. I also have challenges, maybe
This may
different.
not just
but
be my weakness,
yes.
but maybe in another realm.
Yeah. So it's basically the issue of vulnerability that you are raising there. And some of the things that block nakedness, it's being judgmental.
Yeah.
And so you can see you are this, you are foolish. How can you act like that? And many times somebody will be reacting to their partner that way when they have also issues they are hiding. So the holier than thou attitude doesn't necessarily mean that you are really that holy. But then, so there are all these, you've built up this, but there is fear of shame, fear of being judged, and all kinds of fears to your spouse. Maybe as you begin to wind up, you may try to deal with that aspect of the fear to be vulnerable and the aspect of judging each other. And also deal with the need to look at her problem as our problem. How do we deal with this? It's not like you are this bad. You are a very bad person. How can you betray me like that? But where we come to a place of how do we deal with this? How do we address this problem? How do we, to break that, to come to a level of vulnerability where you can really tell your spouse, just anything, and feel that safe haven, that I will not be judged, that I will not be condemned, I will not be mocked, I will not be ridiculed. I'll still feel safe. Like I can be me to this person and still feel respected. So you can deal with that aspect.
Okay, let me start just in a short while. I think the number one key that will help us that can help a couple to reach that point is when we both get to a level of understanding that we have to head towards a solution. Okay, now let me make this statement. Let me make this very, very important statement. It is one thing to be open. It is another thing to act on the openness and improve the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have been our challenge at some point. Mm-hmm. We were open, and there are issues that would rise that needed to be dealt with, but would leave them die a natural death. And that is sometimes the mistake that most open couples make. So I know, she knows.
And that's it.
And that's it. It ends there.
You should accept that this is me, and I should accept that is you.
That is
your problem.
That is a problem. But there has to be a perception that we are doing this to improve our marriage. Now, when we get to there, it means we find common ground. When we find common ground, it ceases to be about her or about me. It becomes about us, because we are both going towards happiness. Mm-hmm. We want to make our marriage better. So that should be the common ground, that we need to grow, we need to improve, we need to become happier, we need to be more satisfied, we need to be better, we need to be a better couple.
This has to improve.
This has to improve. This has to be a good marriage. When we get to that point, the point of improvement, then it is what we are. Because the question is, if we are open, then what? Okay? Because I'll find things, you'll find things, then what? Okay? It's not about just knowing. Because
you see, if it just becomes about knowing,
yes,
it becomes... you gain a familiarity and normalize hating your partner.
Yes.
The one thing you should not forgo as a couple is that when you open up, just because you've decided to open up, don't expect me not to be hurt.
Yes.
So if we keep opening up and never dealing with something that you open up with and it never improves, it becomes a continuous pattern of hating each other.
And not only that, it becomes a point of gossip.
Yeah.
This is where a situation where we see a couple, one of the person in a marriage goes out to share issues about their marriage. So when openness is an end in itself, it becomes a problem. Yeah. Okay, you normalize hate. Okay, you normalize doing the same things because you say she knows. Okay,
I told you.
Or he knows. I told you. You know about this, and not only that, it becomes a point of gossip. So I'll go to Pastor JPC because he's my friend. Can you imagine what Mtende was telling me? And things. And if JPC has got other people, then it becomes a point of gossip. Now we begin to gossip my wife, or our wives begin to gossip, me, because it is an end. No, the end has to be, we need to grow and improve.
Yeah.
And it is at that point that we both become vulnerable. So, and after that, we need to understand that there are two things. If it is baggage that I came with or she came with, there are contributing factors that led to that. Okay? And if it is something that has happened while we are married, the truth is this: no matter how bad what she did is, including if my spouse cheats, okay? Cheating cannot be excused for anything. But the point is this: I had a contribution.
Yes.
Once I have that attitude, then we are going to reach a point.
So while we deal with the cheating that's happening, I have to deal with where am I failing? Because this has become an excuse for many couples where, no, cheating, it is you. It's not true. What made me choose you over the whole world?
Yes.
Perhaps what made me choose you, you have now taken for granted.
Yeah.
So while I have a problem with cheating and it cannot be excused, the question is, what did you do that necessitated this cheating?
Yes. So when we begin to look at it, so if I look at it from the perspective of what made her, if it's baggage she came with, what made her to be like this, I'll be more understanding. I'll treat her with a human perspective, because you see, we're a product of our environment. No one just wakes up and makes all the bad decisions and everything. And so when I do
triggered.
that, I'll be more helpful to her than for me to just look at her like, you did this, you did that. And then in the marriage, if there has been wrong done and it has been kept a secret, then it is revealed. My quick response should be, what did I do to contribute this? Even if she has not accused me to say you are the reason, actually she should not accuse me. She should own up and accept her mistake.
What you have done.
But also me, I shouldn't be pointing an accusing finger. I should ask myself, what did I do for my wife to do this? Okay. First of all, for example, if it is cheating, she didn't just wake up to go and sleep with someone. It started somewhere and she started
Where
keeping
were the
a
gaps?
secret. So what did I do for her to stop, confiding in me? When we get to that point, there will be no feelings of accusation and there will be no judgmental feelings. And so the person will feel, okay, this is our problem, this is our issue, and we need to deal with it. So two things. Number one, what did I do, or what happened to her before me that led her to be like this, or led him to be like this, or what did I do to contribute? So what role am I playing in this? Number one. Number two, what are we aiming at with this openness?
Because you see,
Yeah.
there is an openness that certain couples get to, that it's not resolving an issue, it is protecting yourself.
Yes.
So somebody cheats, and now because it's beginning to leak elsewhere, then now they run home. Oh, so you know what I did?
Yes.
So that when you hear it, I already told you. That is not solving
Yeah.
the problem.
The other openness is the openness of open marriages now. We have seen people say now, okay, we are married, but then you
So you already know.
you can go and sleep around. I can go and sleep around as long as you know who I'm going out with. It is also openness. So the issue is this openness. Where is it heading?
Yeah, in fact, that's what is called. That's why we try to avoid using the word open marriage, instead naked marriage, because you can be open, but there's nothing you are doing in terms of building the marriage. And very critical points that you've raised, and we are so grateful for coming on this podcast. Just in the summary where you talk about taking responsibility, the issue of coming out and being vulnerable should steer up that kind of responsibility. Though the one who is, when you are revealing yourself, like I've done this wrong, I have cheated, or I've watched porn, or I was keeping the money in secret and stuff. You shouldn't come out like, because you did this. I have to take responsibility of what I have done. But then
Yes.
the other person should ask the questions, so why did this happen? Why didn't I see it to prevent it? What did I do wrong? And then we shouldn't also dwell so much on that past, but the next question should be, how can we make things better? Because the goal of a naked marriage is to make a marriage better, more satisfying, happier, more successful. And so it's about, okay, we've got these weaknesses that we have identified in our marriage. We've got these broken issues. It's not to know we are broken and leave it there, but it is to know, okay, we are broken. How do we mend ourselves?
Yes.
We have got these issues. How do we deal with them? We've got these weaknesses. How do we become strong for each other? I've now discovered my wife is weak in this area. I've discovered my husband is weak in this area. How do we support each other? Basically, the goal of a naked marriage is to own problems and solve them together, and not to fight each other. Any words that you'd want to? to say, probably just to conclude. Dear.
One thing I've picked that has come up is that before this program, we were talking about this, and one thing that I was thinking about was that, the premarital counseling, there's a lot of work to do to this couple that is getting married. Like Sister Mtende brought out the issue to say we do so much preparation of this occasion rather than the counseling that is taking place. Yeah, and then one thing that I've picked from you is that you were open before you got married. You started talking about you started you started sharing about your past before you got married, and it was so easy for you to reach to that point where you are now. Um, where you are now. So it is very important that we really need to educate the young people that are coming together, that they have to be open to each other before they come together. They have to talk about their past mistakes, their families, whatever
Yes.
they are coming up with. They have to talk about them, because it's very easy for people. I was telling my husband that it's very easy for a lady when they are getting married to show this face that they
Perfect.
are
Yeah.
perfect, they are what, and it was like, even us men, there are certain things we cannot talk about or we cannot do, because we don't want to get embarrassed by this lady. So
Yes.
we all come with issues when we are coming together, and it's very important that uh, we need to sensitize, we need to teach the young people that are not yet married that when they meet this person, they have to talk about everything. Because if you are scared about talking about your past, your family to this man, you feel that if I bring out this
He
issue,
will go.
he will not go ahead with the marriage,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
why do you risk getting married to this person? So if this person can accept you the way you are before you get married, then it's worth getting married to this person. Yeah, so this is where it has to start from. And then I'm also thinking that because of the culture where we are coming from, about the beads, red beads, white beads, there's no much communication. There's a lot of things to
You
hide,
assume.
and we don't express ourselves fully to your friend or your spouse about how you're feeling about certain things. So you find that it's difficult for people like who have been married for 20, 25 years, 30 years, and then you are telling them now that you have
Be naked.
to be naked. It's very, very, very difficult. It has to take the grace of God. Yeah, but we can do more teaching, more coaching to the young couples, to the young people about the naked marriage.
Yeah, so be naked. We have to do more teaching, more coaching to young people about being naked before you get married. Tell the truth. Don't lie. Don't hide anything. But then, if you are married and you have developed dirty, you have developed a residue, you have developed stuff in the process of marriage that are embarrassing, that are sinful, that are immoral, come out. There are basic two things, basically, that before you get married or when you are just beginning your marriage, be as naked as possible, be truthful, be honest, be sincere, present yourself for who you are. And when you are married, in case you do stuff, wrong stuff, in case you develop residue, develop dead stuff, there has to come a day of justice coming out. The point is, let that man love you for who you are, and let that woman love you for who you are. Don't trap them into a marriage. If you cheated, slept with another man or another woman, and your spouse doesn't know, you've kept it a secret. You have trapped them. They love you. Have kept them to yourself, and you've caused them to love you for who you are not. So they are in a trap. That is wrong. That is an entrapment. If you had a baby or something, you had some relationship, or you were raped, or something bad happened to you before when you are still young, and you got married and you have kept that secret from your spouse, you have trapped them. You have kept them in a cage where you've caused them to love you under deception. The truth is that true love is when I can love you for who you are, is when I can love you in spite of. I know you are weak. I know you've done this. I know you have broken here. I know you are a broken vessel, but I love you and I'm willing to work with you to mend you. That is true love. So anytime you are not naked and you have kept this stuff to yourself, you have actually trapped your spouse in a marriage that you don't deserve to have them. If that man, you have cheated on him, you have cheated on that woman, on your wife or on your husband, and you've trapped them to continue with you, you don't deserve them because they don't know who you are. So open up, come to a place of openness, take a risk, do or die. Let your marriage come to a place where you are in a marriage genuinely, not under deception. Thank you so much, Pastor and Mrs. Daka, for your invaluable, wisdom and for just bringing out these great insights on Marriage Bed podcast. It has been me, JPC and Loved, with my dear wife, Loved, and we were hosting Pastor Daka, the Dakas, Pastor Joshua and Pastor Mutende. May the Lord richly bless you, and I want to encourage you to share this video and also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fight for the Marriage, Fight for the Family YouTube channel, even as we continue to bring you more and more videos that address various aspects, not just of marriage, but also of family. May God richly bless you. Marriage is a living organism, and so you have to grow together and be a living organism. Nothing to hide, nothing to protect when it comes to your relationship with your spouse. God richly bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.